Hi guys, Dean here again. This is part 2 of my overview of the Rab Summit Mountain bivi. Right, I was showing you the bag as I was explaining on the previous part. I apologise for that, but the backup storage on my phone was playing up, which I'm filming this with, but that's sorted. Anyway, on with this. It's a ripstop nylon bag, very lightweight. And then you've got a vent fabric on the end, which I've said before is for people who don't really look after their kit, which I disagree with. I'm a firm believer, look after your kit and your kit will look after you. Should someone put their kit away in a damp, this will allow some of the moisture to escape. However, I must point out, you've got to probably be very negligent towards your gear if you don't let it dry thoroughly. When you get back from a day out or a week out or even months out. Right, I'll have to use my light to show you some stuff. Right, let's go inside. There's ample room. I'm sat by the door here, my feet sticking out. There's one of the pockets, tape seams on all of them. Here's the poles. Every point is reinforced. This is it's like Velcro. You see, you have to do this up internally, but it's a good idea. The fact that you have to pitch the poles inside. This obviously in bad weather gives the opportunity if you can just put the four corners out. If you're in a hurry, climb inside, zip it shut on yourself, and then put the poles up, and it gives you a bit of a haven to sit the worst of the weather out before you put the rest of the guy lines out, or at least get your gear out of the way. That's the donuts, which you're on about, where you can pass that one, you pass rope outwards and clip yourself into. This is the second one where you can pass a rope into, and then obviously clip a carabiner around this here like that, and hitch yourself in if you need to, if you've got a tie-out point. I would assume if you're in a precarious position. Every corner by here is reinforced. Very, very, very tough material by here. And then that's like a nylon taping, or almost Kevlar possibly material. The ends of the poles are just blunted with an aluminium guard on the end, stop them perforating anything. This is one thing which I would suggest to Rab, if I could change, I would suggest maybe, if I don't know if you can see behind, there's a little lip of material by here, like a triangle. If they've got the time to fold that over, then maybe they should just maybe turn this inside and attach a pocket here that this can sit into, because this is one thing that causes a problem. When the wind blows, it can move slightly, and obviously whilst it's reinforced, I've noticed if it gets to about by here, you're then hitting onto the siliconized nylon, which will stretch and give in as a weakness point. So that is probably my only concern. I haven't experienced that personally, but I think at the end of the day, that's probably one of the very few things that can make this better, is if they had pockets which these could sit into. But that's just splitting hairs, really. That is where you've got the attachment points outside, where I showed you earlier on, the 3 triangular guideline points with the pockets that attach to it. There's number 2 of the 4 pockets, number 4, and finally number 5 back by here, which gives you a brief detail about how the Summit Mountain bivi came about and the care instructions, which is quite interesting. That's where I showed you where you got the clip-in point, for the extension. Again, everything's double taped, double stitched, seamed. None of the seams are coming undone, and I've looked after this, but at the same time it's been really beaten about weather-wise. I've used in all the worst conditions going. I'll come in a little further. You know, I got my shoes on, but they are clean, I can assure you. Oh, there we go. And there's your look from the outside door. I'll point out some little things I've noticed which I like about this. Start as the fact this dark olive, even on the sunniest days, it's quite dark inside and all that. You wake up when it's daylight, you can tell obviously it's light, but it doesn't get like other tints of other colours where the sun will wake you up. You'll wake up your own accord, or at least I will, and I'm quite sensitive to the light at home. I'm one of those people that when the sun's up, I'm awake, where I seem to manage to sleep through on this. I'm trying to think some points that might help yourselves. I have experienced once or twice some condensation in here. Nothing substantial, but I've noticed that it runs down the poles if it's very, very cold, if there's snow sat on the outside. But I think you get that with Gore-Tex and a vent, because obviously you've got some wetness on the outside of the event. It then automatically stops the permeability of moisture being allowed to pass through you, because there's a block on the other side, and unfortunately the condensation got nowhere to go. But it does seem to gather on these poles and then runs down, and once or twice I've ended up with a little pool of water down in here, but that's not a problem at the end of the day. You're going to experience that with any single skin tent, really, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think of what else really to show you folks. These pockets here, whilst they say they're pockets, I wouldn't advise you put too much weight in them. Usually I put my car keys and one or two other bits in these. You can see this one by here has actually torn, and that there was no substantial weight. I think I had keys. This LED lamp I use was plonked in there, and one or two other bits which probably came to a couple of ounces, and I caught and it tore it. But spread out, they're going to be alright. They'll take the weight, but you wouldn't. As I said, it's designed to be two-person, but it'd be very, very cosy if you would have two people in here. Another thing I've noticed is that you probably noticed that I pitched this with a footprint underneath. I'm going to put the tarp or footprint underneath on each corner outside. I'll show when I get back out. So I've covered the mic up there. What I was saying is, you've got this siliconized nylon floor. On each corner I've got a tarp which I always put underneath all my bivvies and tents. Roll the corners back, which I'll show you shortly, because otherwise you get the moisture build up anyway, whereas if you haven't got it stored underneath, should anything come down here with a capillary action running down to there, it will pass through. It will actually let it pass through so long as you're not on top of another surface. That's the other side where one of the ground anchors are attached. I think that's pretty much it on the inside, folks, for me to show you. Any questions you may have, feel free to ask me, either where I post this video, or I will also put my email address on there, and you're welcome to ask some questions about that. Right, I shall go back outside now and give you one final look around outside. One thing I will say quickly as well, whilst I'm thinking about it, is this bag is great. It is a very good bag. However, I've found that if you want to travel light, and this obviously is designed to be travelled light with, I don't use this bag because I find because it's rolled up, you've got no option then but to use whatever width there is in length. That takes up in your rucksack. I've noticed that I can use my X-Ped. I've got an X-Ped large blue compression bag, and I'll fold this tent over to probably 8 inches by 8 inches inside, and if I can kneel on it, it goes about an inch thick, and then close the bag up so it's like a vacuum pack. And then literally you've got an 8 by 8 inch square and about an inch deep, and you can just slide that down inside. And then I carry the poles separately and the pegs separately, slide them down the side inside my X-Ped bag. So coming back out, this is where I was on about. You can see here that I've pushed this back a little bit just so the corners here can breathe and water can pass through on here. I'd mentioned in my other video about how I felt the Rab Ridge Master is the best bivvy out there as far as I'm concerned, and I've got quite an extensive history of bivvies, tried all sorts out. This is described by some as a bivvy, others as a tent. I would describe it probably, if I had to give them the choice, I'd say it's a very tall bivvy due to the nature that it's so light and so small. It's not much bigger than the Ridge Master when rolled up. If I had to categorise this as a bivvy, then I'll be honest with you, well, categorise as a bivvy or a tent all round, I've got to be honest with you, this is my go-to tent stroke bivvy. Any situation where I'm going solo, I take this. I've got a North Face V25, and whilst it's obviously technically better, I will always use this if I'm going on my own, due to the fact it packs so light, so damn tough, and it serves every purpose I need. Absolutely cracking bit of kit, more than worth the money. If I was going to go for the Ridge Master or this, I would say keep the pennies and just wait or hang out a little longer and get this instead, because it serves all its purposes, other than the fact that you've got none of the struggling to get changed like you do when you're in a bivvy, and you've got room for your kit inside. And inside I use, on here I've got a X-Ped Down Mat Deluxe 9, and it only takes up half the width of this, and any of those familiar with that mat is huge. I'm 6'2", and there's room for me on both ends on that mat. I'm 16 stone and it's wider than me, so you could sleep two in here, probably two of those mats side by side. And that's about it really, folks. I can't think of anything else really at the moment to tell yourselves. As I said, feel free to ask me any questions if you want on the site, on YouTube, and I'll try and answer them. Or you can email me at cooling77@sky.com, which is COOLING 77@sky.com. I hope this review has helped any of you who are thinking of buying it, or at least giving you a nose at what this is. I'll be putting more overviews of all the other gear I've got. There's quite a bit. My main reasons for doing this is that I found whenever I wanted to purchase an item, there was no good videos of them anywhere, so I couldn't really get an idea of what it looked like. So I'm making my concerted effort to put as many videos of all the gear I got on, so should anybody else be looking to purchase these items, they won't find themselves in the position that I was stuck in. Right here, I'll just zip this shut for the final front view for yourselves. There you go, that's closed up, Velcro stuck down, storm flap pushed in, and there you go folks. Rab Mountain Summit Bivy in olive. Without doubt my go-to bomb-proof shelter. I take it everywhere, I use it, cold down, hot weather. If you could only have one tent or one bivy, etc., get this. Out of all the different makes available, different styles of tents, etc., personally, this is the only one that ticks all the boxes. Anyway, take care folks. This is Dean, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.